Welcome to the Uncaged Feminine Podcast. My name is Heidi. I'm not going to do a long intro on this one because while I have made some bullet points of the things I would like to discuss, I'm just going to riff and see what comes out of my heart. I'll start by saying that I apologize. My allergies are in full swing right at the moment, so please bear with me. This past week has been dark. I'm sure you're feeling it. I'm feeling it. I've heard many people say it's like something shifted, and I agree with that. Something has definitely shifted. The week started out for me, actually, it started out for me last weekend when a friend, I had suggested a series of webinar to her, and there were different speakers, and one of them was, at the end of the week, was going to be Teal Swan. Now, my friend, I'm a spiritual person. My friend is a Christian, and yes, we make that work. And she had made a comment that I had commented that I was really looking forward to listening to Teal Swan. And she didn't know who Teal Swan was, but she had recommended this webinar to some friends of hers who warned her about watching Teal Swan because she was satanic. Now, when I heard that word, I will admit I went off the rails. I'll explain that in a minute. But this friend, she did not say that in a mean to hurt me. I don't believe she has a malicious bone in her body. It was a word that she's just been, it's part of her faith, that the things that I do and believe in are, according to her faith, satanic. So I sat with that feeling for a few days, and I realized that I valued our friendship. Had that been a lot of just some random person, I would have just deleted, blocked, whatever I did, and walked away. But I valued our friendship. I value our friendship. And so I decided to have a conversation instead. And what came from that conversation was actually quite beautiful. And we still hold different beliefs on how we get to God, but I believe we also respect each other's beliefs as well. That's how we have dialogue. That's how people with differing opinions and differing belief systems coexist. And we don't just coexist. We are friends. But this is what society needs to relearn. And so this conversation took place on Sunday and again Monday night. And then Wednesday happened. And I'm not turning this into a political left versus right, topic at all. But it was devastating. We all know it was devastating. It ricocheted around the world. This wasn't just a United States tragedy. And 2 young children are going to grow up without their father because he believed different than, obviously, the person who decided that he didn't deserve to live anymore. And I don't know Charlie Kirk. I listened to some of his, I wasn't an avid listener of his. I listened to some of his material. I certainly didn't agree with everything. No, he was not a racist. He was not all the things that you're being told to believe that he was. And if you don't believe me, go and watch some of his material. Go and watch it. What he tried to do was to keep dialogue going between people who didn't agree with each other. In fact, he believed, and you can find many places where he said this, he believed that when we stop communicating is when violence occurs. And so I didn't know him. I don't know him. And logically, I had to ask myself, why is his life, to me, why is his life affecting you more that it is gone than the gentleman who the same morning in my community lost his life on a motorcycle? Or the people who will lay in hospice this afternoon and die from cancer? Logically, he wasn't. So I had to sit with that question and ask myself, why is this affecting me the way that it is? And I realized it's what it represents. It represents for me that when you speak what is true for you, your beliefs, and if they don't align with other people's, you could die for that. You could die for that. And I was very heavily involved in the freedom movement here in Canada during the COVID years. And I received hate for that. I had people in my life that stopped talking to me. They still don't. I received nasty messages. I never received a death threat, I will say that. I received nasty messages. I received all of that. At one point, because I chose to make my own medical decisions, at one point here in Canada, I wasn't allowed in a restaurant, a sporting event, any public space where I could supposedly harm people. And one day in a speech, the Prime Minister of the time made a speech. And in that speech, he said, are we really going to tolerate these people? And these people are harming your children. Those two things in that, and he was very angry when he said it. Those two things, I knew in that moment, I felt somebody in this movement is going to die. Because those words, someone is going to be crazy enough to latch onto those and think that they are saving the world by taking out someone who is speaking up for freedom. Thankfully, it did not happen. But he meant to do that with those words, and no one will ever convince me otherwise. He purposely was othering us, making us those other people. And society has to stop doing that. That is how violence occurs, when you other people. And I don't care if you're left, you're right, you're Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, Christian, spiritual, I don't care, black, white, gay, not gay, I don't care. We have to stop othering people. But if you, all those things I just mentioned, all those institutions and those identifiers, we also have to start to learn that media, government, those, they, whoever they are, those are all things that they have figured out how to weaponize against us, to keep us divided, to keep us punching each other, to keep us hating each other. After Charlie died, I was so disgusted and heartbroken to see the number of people, even people in my own life, who were celebrating that man died. And they may not, some of them may not have come right out and said, good, I'm glad he's dead. But they would post things like, well, he deserved it. He got what he deserved. And that was just another layer to what I was feeling, because during 2021 and 2022, when I pushed back so heavily against the vaccine mandates here in Canada, And many of the people in my circle stopped talking to me, in my own family. I often wondered, in my darkest moments, if I got COVID and died, would their reaction be, well, she got what she deserved? One very prominent, important to me family member recently told me that at the time he just thought, well, natural selection. I suspected that that was the thought process, but it really, really stung to hear it. And this past week, I saw a lot of those same people saying that same thing about Charlie Kirk. And I guess in my mind, it just cemented for me that, yeah, that is probably exactly what they were thinking in 2021. So for me this week, it triggered up a lot of past trauma that I thought I dealt with. Maybe I didn't in hindsight. And it was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. We have to learn how to disagree without resorting to name calling and vilifying and othering and killing. I don't know how we get there, because the tide online has now shifted from people celebrating his death to celebrating the destruction of their livelihoods. And I have no real opinion on that. Do I believe that you should lose your job for saying something online? Well, no, not really. I do believe in free speech. I guess where I maybe would agree with it is to see how many educators there are that are being put on administrative leave because of what they said. And I guess in that case, we do have to look at the fact that they are with our children, Monday through Friday. And at the very least, it shows lack of critical thinking and poor judgment. And maybe working with children isn't the ideal profession for them, at the very least. So I guess, like I said, I have no real opinion on that. I do believe in free speech, but I also do believe that some professions have to be held to a higher standard. We have to learn how to disagree, but I've also had a chance to think about the people who are celebrating the fact that he died. And while, yes, there's always really bad people out there, always, I don't believe a lot of them are probably inherently bad people. And I'm going to blame social media for this a little bit. Have you noticed in your social media feed, your Facebook feed, that I rarely ever see anything that a friend posts anymore. I see mostly ads, or they recommend pages to me with content that they think I'll like. And that's the key right there. Content that they think I'll like, based on what I've already looked at. And have you noticed in this last week that while my news feed is typically filled with things that I have clicked on or read, and it's similar content, always, always, always. But this past week, after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, all of a sudden, my news feed started to fill up with people who were celebrating his death, were basically the complete opposite of what my typical interests would be in seeing content. And we have to understand that that is intentional. Facebook pays people millions of dollars a year. And I'm saying Facebook right now, but you can apply this to any one of the social media platforms out there. Facebook pays people millions of dollars a year to sit and tweak and reprogram their algorithms to show you content that will basically keep you engaged in their platform. And then at the moments like we've just seen, tragic, their algorithms switch, and it shows you the stuff that's going to keep you enraged. because then you start clicking. They need you there. They need you. Their advertisers have no reason to pay them advertising dollars if they don't have an audience. That's the bottom line you need to remember. So in moments like this, when I was fighting the mandates, I spent probably as much time in Facebook jail as I did out of Facebook jail for a lot very benign things that I said. But it didn't follow the narrative, so it got taken down and I got put in timeout. Have you noticed that this week you can barely scroll your timeline without being exposed to the video of Charlie being shot through the neck and dropping dead in front of all of us? There isn't a graphic content warning on it. There is nothing. Facebook can do that within hours. And their algorithms can do that within hours. They're not with these videos. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why Facebook is allowing those videos to live on our timelines without a graphic content warning. Ask yourself why all of a sudden you're seeing people show up in your timeline that you would normally never click on their content because you don't agree with their belief system. You don't agree with their content. Ask yourself those questions. And I'm going to answer it now. Because they need to keep you enraged, engaged, and enslaved so their advertisers will continue to give them money. And that's exactly what they're doing. Mark Zuckerberg is living in his multi-million-dollar home. He gets up every day and spends his time exactly the way he wants to spend it. He's living his best life, but he keeps you enslaved on his platform to achieve his goal of financial abundance and freedom. He keeps you enslaved on his platform. And as long as you're on there being mad and angry at every little thing that somebody said, you're not hitting your goals. Being pissed off because somebody said that Charlie Kirk deserved to die on Wednesday, that's not going to help you put that extra $10,000 in your bank account. That's not going to help you get your next promotion. That's not going to help you build your business. That's not going to help you lose that extra 10 pounds. But it helps him meet his goals. Think about that. And social media, of course, it's a part of our life now. It totally has benefits. But it has a really dark side. And this past week has exposed that for me. I've been stepping back away from Facebook for quite a while, just because I did watch some of the testimony that the whistleblower gave at Congress. I was enraged when I listened to, and she wasn't just someone that worked there. She was at the top. She worked closely with Mark and his wife. She knew what she was talking about. And when she explained how they build algorithms to target our teenagers with, mental health issues in order to sell them products, it was disgusting. And that was the real turning point for me. And I also realized, because I've built many Facebook pages for other people throughout the years, and I have never struggled to get engagement like I am with mine now. And I've seen people with much bigger followings than I have also complaining that they can't get engagement. And when I watched this lady speak at Congress, it clicked. They don't want people to be mentally healthy. They need people to have anxiety and depression and feel bad about themselves and not like how they look and all of those things, because that way they can target them with advertising to sell them products that will improve their life. And I air quote when I say that. So if you are in the healing space, you're not top priority for Facebook to spread your message. Because healthy people don't binge spend money. They just don't. So getting back to the people that are spreading the vitriol about Charlie's death, we have to remember their algorithms are showing them typically anti-Charlie Kirk messaging, or anti-freedom messaging, or anti-Christian messaging, whatever. That's their algorithm keeping them juiced up. And we can sit and say all day long that we're grown-ups and we should be able to discern the difference. That's just simply not true. There is psychological and scientific evidence showing how we can be manipulated and, for lack of a better term, brainwashed very subtly, and we don't even know it's happening. So there's that. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, and that's okay. But go look it up. It might not be the answer we wanted to hear, but it's science. And at the end of the day, the bottom line really is that we can't control how other people behave. We just can't. People are going to be who they are. And the only choice we have there is whether or not we're going to allow it to derail us. Sadly for me, I did let this derail me for the last 2 or 3 days. But I had a couple of conversations with a couple of friends and really got to the bottom of why this is bothering me so bad. And like I said, for me, it's the overall, what it represents. Go against the grain, put yourself in danger. That's not a world I want to live in, and that's not a world I want to raise my daughter in. I don't want my daughter to be in a world where she has to silence her own voice, because not to do so could actually cause her physical harm. And so this is where we're going with this. We have to stop othering each other. It's not us versus them. It's not red versus blue, Christian versus spirituality, white versus black. It's none of that. They want us to believe it's that, because that is how you control people. You divide and conquer. We've all heard that saying at some point in our lifetime. And this is exactly what they've always done it. It just became more evident since 2020. And they have figured out how to weaponize absolutely every institution that we have and every physical identifier that we have against each other. And how we win that game is we stop playing it. It's just that simple. When we don't buy into it anymore, when we stop playing the game, there's no game. Like, a person can't play chess by themselves. So stop playing chess. And I'm sorry that was heavy. I really needed to get that off of my chest. And I'm thinking there's other people out there that maybe need to hear it. And if you do need to hear it, I hope you do. I hope it resonates with you. And I want you to know that it's okay to be derailed for a couple of days. We're human. We're literally here to have a human experience. And part of being human is feeling pain when you know other people are in pain. And I'm in pain for, Charlie. His life was cut short and it didn't need to be. I'm in pain for his wife and his children, who not only lost a husband and father, but they had to witness it happening. I'm in pain for those thousands of college students that were there to get a message of hope, or even they disagreed with him and they wanted to debate him. I'm in pain for them that they had to see that happen as well. And then I'm in pain for them because apparently there are a lot of students on that campus who are celebrating openly what happened. And it's making them, the kids that are in attendance, afraid now. I'm sad that we have had to see the darkness in so many people's hearts this week. It's heartbreaking. And excuse my tears a little bit. I think I'm sad for humanity because we have gone into such a place that it's going to take a lot of work to get back out of. So it's natural for you to be feeling a little broken right now. But just don't live there. So some of the things I've done this week, if it'll help you, to try to get myself out of that space, is I talked to some friends about how I was feeling and what this overall represented for me. I've done a lot of journaling. I've limited my exposure to social media. People who are just insistent on spreading the most vile posts about his assassination. If they really weren't somebody I was close with, I will admit I have unfriended. If it was someone that is a family member or they were just acting in a way that wasn't usual for them, I've put on a 30-day mute, just so I don't have to see their content right now. And that's not because I'm being triggered by their content. It's because I don't want to lose every ounce of respect that I would possibly have for them. So I just don't want to see it. Maybe that's the wrong way to look at it, but I'm doing that in an effort to actually preserve that friendship. And I created a burn list. I literally wrote down every feeling I was having. I didn't filter. I used bad words when myself felt like it. And then I burned it. And I released it. I also wrote, before I burned that, at the end of it, I wrote the things that I was no longer allowing in my energy. And then I burned it to release it. I said, I recommend it. I believe we're going to have a few more months of this chaos. So I would recommend getting a very strong self-care routine in place. I didn't make that up myself. I heard that from Lee Harris, who I just adore. He's such a gentle soul. And he recommended that. And I'm personally taking him up on it. And self-care could look like, depending on your spiritual path, it could look like meditating for 10 or 15 minutes. It could look like praying, taking a walk, doing some yoga, or reading, spending time with your children, like intentional time with your children or your spouse or a friend. Go grab a coffee with a friend and sit and have a face-to-face conversation. Do some breath work. Try to get some sleep. Sleep has been elusive for me this week, as I'm sure it has many of you. But try to get some sleep. Eat good food. I also chose to eat some very crappy food, which a coworker picked up on very quickly and asked me why I was triggered, because I don't normally eat that stuff unless I'm triggered. Pick up the phone and call someone you love and have a conversation. Don't tamp down your feelings of what happened, because we have to go through our feelings to get rid of them. I'm not asking anyone. We don't do we don't do bypassing here, but just don't live there. Purposely and intentionally work through them. And try to understand the whole situation. I explained to you why it was so triggering for me, but that doesn't mean that's the reason it's so triggering for you. Really sit down and dig into that. That's how you're going to heal it. And try to be compassionate with people. If someone comes over to you and they want to discuss how much they didn't like Charlie, if they are actually looking for conversation or discussion around that, go ahead and have it. You'll learn something from each other. But if they're just coming over and already know from their first sentence that they're just looking to have a fight or be rude, don't engage. Delete the comment, move on with your life. Don't engage. They're not looking to learn anything from you. They're looking to trigger your emotions. Don't let them do it. Shut down social media for a day or two if you can. Or at the very least, start snoozing people and pages that are posting content that you just don't want to see right now. Give yourself permission to do that. And so I don't even know how long I've been rambling. But just in those moments, just think of one small thing that you can do for even 5 minutes to reclaim your peace and get you back on track to living your life. It's been a dark week. I said that at the beginning. And somehow we have to spread the little bit of light. We can't fix the world. I can't fix the world. You can't fix the world. But we do have control over our own little pocket of that world. And if each person takes responsibility for that, their self, their family, spread it out to their community if they can, eventually the light will continue to grow. And that's how we reclaim our lives. We're here for a short amount of time, obviously. And being enraged and triggered and angry and fighting with people on social media apps, those apps might be free, but you're paying. They might be free in money, but they're not free. You're paying with your soul. You're paying with your mental health. And you're paying by giving them time that you're not going to get back. That's the cost. So please take care of yourself. I do encourage you to take a couple of days, shut the noise off. That noise will continue whether you're participating in it or not. And just shut that off and ask yourself how I can make today be the best day I can for me, my spouse, my partner, my children, my parents, and do that. And I promise you a couple of days of doing that and you're going to start feeling human again. It doesn't mean that we can't continue to raise awareness and I'm not saying, just ignore everything that's going on in the world. That's impossible. We just have to find a better way to counteract it. Retaliating with retaliation isn't counteracting it. That's just retaliation. Counteracting it is doing it in such a manner that the darkness gets smaller. And we do that by increasing the light. Anyway, if you've managed to listen to my rambling for this long, I thank you. You can find me on Facebook, The Uncaged Feminine. I have a page. I have a private group you can join. And I'm actually currently right now working to build a community off that platform just to get away from that platform. And there'll be more details about that as when it goes live. Thank you for spending this time with me. I really appreciate you. And I hope that something in here I've said has helped you today. Helped you maybe wrap your head around this senselessness a little bit. We'll talk to you on the next one.